So today I'm going to go through a really simple 6-step rehab process you can use for any kind of running injury. I use this framework with all my athletes and it's really useful and helpful with them as well as me programming their rehab going back to running. Now, typically with any kind of running injuries, people tend to rest, which is good for pain management initially. The problem comes when they try and return back to their normal level of running, where they still have issues, joint aches and pains, etc. And they find they can't do the same level of running as they did before. So hopefully, this rehab plan will help tackle that in terms of where to start, how to progress, and how to get back to running or return to a level of running as well. Bit of a side note before we begin, I have created a 4-week free strength and conditioning program, so it's 3 days a week, upper lower full body. You can get it in the description, so click the link below, pop your email in, and it'll take you straight to the download, and you can download it directly. So the example we're going to use today, as I said, is Achilles tendinitis. So I'm just going to put that there. Tendinitis. Okay, so my handwriting's not the best, but Achilles tendinitis. So typically, let's just start right at the bottom. So tendinitis, or is it? It's overuse of the tendon. The tendon gets dead inflamed. So the Achilles is sort of near your heel or back of your heel. Tendon gets really inflamed, really irritated. So tolerance to running is probably very low. We're going to just assume right now. So starting off right at the bottom. We're going to have ROM, which is range of motion. So typically, we need to get your range of motion back before we start working on strength work, or you can do it simultaneously, but here we'll just assume we need to tackle range of motion first. So typically with the Achilles tendon, it's going to be the ankle that we're going to work on. Things we can do with that in terms of range of motion, we can do sort of ankle pumps. So where you're kind of moving like that, doing ankle circles, ankle alphabets, etc. So anything where we're getting blood flow to the area, at the same time we're getting movement into the joint. So nice and simple. We can't work on anything else before we start to get that range back. Pretty simple with that one. Number 2 is going to be motor output. So now typically these two do work hand in hand. So typically, I do do mold the rehab between the two stages. So motor output, what is that? So it's not strength. So more output is more, can the muscle or area be able to maintain a low level contraction over a period of time? So instead of like going all out and pushing max, they might be only pushing 50% of the sort of maximum power, but they're able to maintain that. So a lot of the time when you do have pain and injuries, you have a reduced ability to fire or output power on the muscles, even if it's low level over a longer period. So motor output exercises are really good to get that back and get everything firing at 100%. So motor output, the way we do that is using isometrics. So exercises where you're holding a position. So simply put, for this we can do like an isometric calf raise. So holding a calf raise position, double leg, single leg. You might do straight knee, bent knee position, seated as well. So typically with that, you might do 2 to 3 sets, anywhere from 20 to 30 seconds or upwards of like 45 seconds, just depends on the type of exercise. Keeping it really simple, doing some calf raise holds. Typically, even the range of motion ones, but typically anything down here you're going to do, depends, 2 to 4 times a day. If it's more painful, do it less. If it's pretty good, you'll be able to sort of do a little bit more. Maximum 3-4 times a day. Getting that back up in terms of the muscles firing, to getting it back to 100%, getting all the muscles and the tendons nice and fired up. And that will prep us for the next stage of our rehab, which is number 3. So that's going to be movement. So typically with, put that arrow down there, so with movement is the next step, so making it dynamic. So really simple, if we're taking the calf raises, is doing actual calf raises. So whether that's double leg and then working onto single leg, going from the floor to a step, for example. So yeah, lots of different variations, lots of different things you can do there. The whole point of it is, as you can see, we are progressing from kind of starting off small and focused around the joint and the muscle, and then slowly increasing demand around the tendon. So yeah, single leg calf raise. So you probably start off double first, single, floor, step. So loads of progressions there. Probably reduce down the amount of times a day you're doing that, just because it's going to be a bit more demand on the tendon. Really simple there. Next step is, I'll just put LM. So that will be so loaded movement. So really simple, similar to that. So you're taking that, but you're going back, or you're going into the gym, and you might only load 2-3 times per week. So typically for that, you might do 2-3 sets of, say, single leg calf raises with a dumbbell off a floor or off a step. There's loads of different variations you can do. Straight leg, bent knee. You can use the machines. You can do heavy eccentrics, where you go up with 2 and come down with 1. Again, just to keep it simple here, if we're doing it twice a week, one day we might do single leg seated calf raise using machine, and then the other day we might do a standing single leg calf raise with a dumbbell. So with that, what we're doing is we're gradually sort of loading the tendon and trying to increase the strength and load tolerance within that structure. So really easy, really simple. It's really vital we focus, or heavily focus, on this area probably the most, because it will help us build our capacity for the next step, which will be number 5, which is hop and land. So hop and land. So basically power, plyometrics, quick fast movement. So typically here what we can do are kind of like skipping, double leg hops, single leg hops. Again, progressing from kind of low intensity to high intensity. So a nice, really easy progression system I use for this is I'll get people to hop on the spot as if they're skipping with 2 legs, then a bit more power, and then using their arms to apply a bit more power, then different directions, forward, backwards, sideways, and then even within that into the gym, box jumps, reactive box jumps where you're stepping off a box, landing, and then jumping up in the air. So loads of different progressions. The whole premise of the hop and land is we're increasing speed and power around the tendon and trying to get that elasticity back so it doesn't react. And it's something that we do need before we do start to run, because the calf muscles and the tendons take a huge amount of load, like multiplied by your body weight. I can't remember the exact figures, but yeah, really important. And if we don't focus on this and we went back to running, we're probably still going to have issues. So yeah, just to keep it simple, hops and jumps, not to kind of overload on that. But yeah, hop and land here as well. We're probably going to start some form of jogging and probably some interval running as well. So kind of we're dipping into the next step, but you know, with some athletes, if they're doing pretty good, I'll get them to carry on running, or start running at that stage a little bit, and then we'll focus on that properly when we get to it. So in terms of the last stage, return to sport, in this case running. So typically with that, if we've done everything really sort of spot on throughout, the return to sport literally is just a gradual return. So I'll get them to potentially run 2 twice a week for a couple of weeks, and then 3 times a week. Then I'd get them to start upping their volume, and then gradually put in sprints. Even if we do interval sprints, I'll get them not to go 100%. I'll say go 70%. So still gradually increasing. And what determines the progress rate in terms of how much you can increase your distance or your intensity with your sprints is basically going to be your reactivity to sort of in terms of soreness. So if you're sore a little bit after in terms of the Achilles tendon, that's fine. If it lasts, I say about a day, that's okay. Anything longer than a day or day and a half, we've probably done a bit too much, so then we can just scale that down. And obviously pain levels at this stage, we're probably not going to get pain. It's going to be probably more soreness with the sport or some of the exercise, not so much kind of intense pain that people typically report in kind of the early stages. But yeah, pretty much return to sport, and then a gradual return, and then majority of the time, people don't have any issues. And then I would get them kind of generally, with going forward, I'll get them to do some maintenance work. So I usually advise training 1 to 2 times a week in terms of strength and conditioning, and then doing some form of calf, hamstring work, etc. Just to kind of go alongside that. Through this whole process, depending on the athlete as well, if they're really into their gym and the strength and conditioning, I will get them to carry on training and training upper body, lower body, and we'll just modify some of the things if it is aggravating the ankle or the Achilles, especially earlier on. And then in terms of conditioning, I'll get them to do off-feet conditioning, so whether that's bike, whether that's assault bike, cross trainer, step machine, anything where it's not going to aggravate the Achilles too much, I'll get them to do it anyway, just to keep up their fitness levels. That is the, despite the very terrible handwriting, that is the really simple process, 6-step process that you can use. Hopefully that is useful. I've tried to give some really simple examples there. In terms of rehab, I do use different exercises that are a bit more complex or a bit more dynamic, but it's easier to coach in person. But typically, this is your bread and butter. And as I said, depending on the level of injury, you can kind of dip in and start wherever. If you had a more of a long-standing issue and pain's not really a problem, it's more capacity, you might just start doing gym work and implementing kind of the calf raise work in the gym, and then use that as your base and build from there. If it's more of an acute injury, you might start right at the bottom if it's happened within days, for example. But I think other bits of advice, especially with rehabbing any kind of running injury, all you need is realistically 2 things. Well, 3 things: consistency and persistence. So consistency, carry on and keep on top of the rehab, especially early days when it's early stage rehab, 2-3 times a day. Just make it manageable. You don't need to do 15-20 exercises, literally just pick a few and it'll be dead easy. And then persistence as well, keep at it. You will have ups and downs. Rehab's never a straight line up, and you will have dips. It's just keeping on that and keeping consistent with it, and knowing that you will have some downs, but you'll also equally have lots of ups as well within that. And I think social media does show a lot of different rehab exercises and really complex stuff. Honestly, you don't need any of that shit. As I said, keep it really simple, keep it progressive, listen to your body, and progress nice and slow with it. In the case of Achilles tendinitis, typically 6 to 8 weeks is kind of like your standard. If it's a bit more chronic and a bit more annoying, can take slightly longer, so 8 to 12 weeks. But that's kind of a rough time frame for something like this. But hope you enjoyed that video. If you do want to see, or if there's any other injuries, particular injuries you want me to kind of go through in terms of early stage, mid stage, and end stage rehab similar to this, drop a comment down below, leave a suggestion. If there's anything else in the realms of injuries or strength and conditioning, or anything you want me to cover or go through in more depth, just leave your suggestions down below, and I'll definitely get back to you, and then we can get the ball rolling on them. But hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna crack on and hopefully catch you on the next one. Peace.